everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel. Today I'm doing a giant book haul. Now look, I was doing really good about not buying books so far in 2026. I was like, I'm not really on a book ban, but I need to slow down, save my money. But I did get, you know, like a handful of books over January and like half of February, but I got most of these in the last 2 weeks. I was at the bookstore probably 3 times, my used bookstore, and then I went thrifting this past weekend and I got like 25 books. So I do have about 53 books, give or take, to share with you guys today. Because that's a lot of books, I am not going to give you the synopsis of each book. I may say like 1 or 2 things on why I got it or something I've heard about the book, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you about each and every one of these books. There's a lot. Now, I think my last book haul video, or one of them that I've done, I kind of had them separated by where I got them from, but I actually had already shelved all these books, so I had to get them back off my shelves, and so I'm gonna do it by genre, and yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So the first genre I have been buying more of recently is nonfiction, specifically my ocean science type books. I want to be as smart and informed as I can be in my fields. So the first book I was really excited about actually, is Around the Ocean and 80 Fish and Other Sea Life. This is by Dr. Helen Scales, and it has like stunning artwork in it. Like, this is the pom-pom crab. They're so fun. So I was excited about this book, and it was fairly cheap. The next book I simply got because I'm obsessed with sharks and it was cheap, and that's Shark Life: True Stories About Sharks in the Sea by Peter Benchley. Sharks, we love them. And actually the other book is Chasing Shadows by Greg Scommel. If you guys are shark people or marine science people, Greg Scommel is like a huge great white shark guy, specifically on the East Coast, and so this kind of follows his journey of discovering and learning about the great whites on the East Coast, specifically I think near like Massachusetts. I also got Civilization and the Limpet. Never heard of this, simply saw it and kind of geeked out. Limpets I think are just really cool, so I grabbed this book. One I specifically got for work is called Beautiful Swimmers, Waterman Crabs and the Chesapeake Bay. I live in Virginia near the Chesapeake Bay, and that is actually what my job kind of focuses on, so I think it is kind of perfect to grab and pick up and learn some local water history. Now, if you guys have been on this channel for a little bit, I like to say that I'm not a romance girly, and I really need to stop saying that because I don't think it's 100% true. I just don't read it super often. Like, I'm not one of those girlies, if that makes sense. But I do have a couple romance here. The first one being If Only I Had Told Her by Laura Nolan. I read If He Had Been With Me in a single sitting, sobbed my eyes out. Was it a masterpiece? No. Was it like the best thing ever? No, but like it just hit home, so I had to get the second one. When I was at the thrift store this past weekend, again, I got a lot of books, and one of them was The Honey Don't List by Christina Lauren. I simply got this because Christina Lauren I've heard good things about, and I think I own one of her other books, so I snagged this book. No idea what it's about, but I've seen it before on Goodreads. I also got Confess by Colleen Hoover at the same thrift store for super cheap. I say that I don't like Colleen Hoover, but like I've read a couple of her books and I liked all of them, so I've not read this one, picked it up. I did pick up a couple more like general fiction, contemporary type books. The first one being Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. This is like the one Frederick Bachman book I've actually wanted to read, and I just could never find it used, so I did finally grab it. I also managed to grab book 10 in the Numa Files by Clive Cussler. Funny enough, I was at my used bookstore last week and was trying to find the mass market version of this specific book. They didn't have it. I went to the thrift store this past weekend, and conveniently this was the only Clive Cussler they had, and it was the one I needed, and it was 50 cents. So obviously I grabbed it. Now I have some thriller mysteries. I I feel like thriller, mystery, and horror are like those genres where people can kind of like categorize differently, but I kind of go off the main genre that's on Goodreads. So the first one I have is Dean Koontz, The Other Emily. This is like one Dean Koontz novel I've heard really good things about. I actually discovered him, well, I knew about him, but I read a lot of his books last year and fell in love. So now anytime I see Dean Koontz, I'm like, oh my god, let me get that. And this is like brand new, so I was geeking when I saw this on the shelf. Another author I've heard really good things about, and I own a couple of her books but I've not read yet, that's Karen Slaughter. I got The Last Widow. I picked it up because, again, I've just heard good things about her, and I read the synopsis and I was like, yo, that actually doesn't sound like something I'd like, but, you know, it's okay. I didn't even read the synopsis in the store, I just immediately grabbed it, because thrift stores, they're so cheap. It's just like, why not? A book that I've heard kind of mixed things about is The Sanatorium by Sarah Pearse. I've just kind of heard you either like it or don't like it, so I'm interested to read this. There, I believe it's a Netflix show that just came out that my mom was binging, and I found out it was based off a book, and while I only watched like a couple scenes with her, I was interested enough to where I had to go get the book, and that's Runaway by Harlan Coben. He's a really big author, seen a lot of things about this author. They usually have a lot of books in the bookstore, but I've just never actually read one of their books, so I picked this one up since I was kind of interested in what my mom was watching on the TV at the time. The last like thriller mystery I got is State of Fear by Michael Crichton. I literally was just at my very tiny thrift store like right next to my house earlier today trying to find some pants, and of course I had to check out the book aisle and I accidentally got a book, so I'm excited because I own quite a few of his books now. I just need to actually read them. Okay, we're getting into some of my favorite genres now. I'm really excited. So we're gonna do horror next, and I got Small Town Horror by Ronald Moffey. I am so excited because I swear I hear so many good things about this horror writer, and this was a hardcover. Looks like brand new and I found it used. Yeah, I just have to say, I think all but 2 of these books I got used. So, you know, I had to get it. I was at Barnes & Noble literally debating buying full price one of his books, and then I was at the used bookstore and found it, and I just couldn't help myself. Like I already said, I'm kind of obsessed with Dean Koontz, so I don't even have to read the synopsis or the title and I just grab it. So I think the next one's The Big Dark Sky by Dean Koontz, and then I also got The Taking by Dean Koontz. Again, no idea what these are about. I know they're horror books and I instantly grabbed them because I just love this man's writing, okay? He's great. I believe it was Valentine's Day. My boyfriend was like, I want to buy you a book or two. He was like, let's go to Barnes & Noble. I refused to let him buy me a book at Barnes & Noble. Instead, we drove 5 minutes down the road, went to the used bookstore, and he bought me 3 books for the price of one. One of them being The Black Hunger by Nicholas Polan. I've just kind of seen this on my Goodreads. It's, I don't know, it sounds really good. I like the type of horror books that really dive into like people being the real horror, and this sounds like it's going to be something like that, so I'm excited. Also, the cover is just really pretty. The next 4 books are all by John Saul. This is actually an older horror writer my mom grew up reading, and I've kind of noticed a theme with some of his books that I've bought is that he likes to write horror books about young children. So I feel like before I become a mother, I need to read all the scary kid books so that, you know, I'm not like shitting my pants when I do have kids. So the first one is Perfect Nightmare by John Saul. I also picked up The Presence by John Saul, and then I went to another thrift store the same day and I picked up When the Wind Blows and The God Project. I think both of these ones are about young children and them going missing and weird shit happening. So again, I think I need to like read as many children horror books as I can because I like stuff like that, but I know that when I become a mother, I may not like things like that. I did pick up a couple sci-fi books. The first being The Testaments by Margaret Atwood, could also be considered a classic. This is like the follow-up to A Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, and I have yet to read it, I know, it was my mom's favorite growing up, and I did watch most of the TV show, so I am interested. So I figured I might as well go ahead and pick up the sequel. I also got We Are the Ants by Sean David Hutchinson. I have seen and heard good things about this book before, but I was actually out with my friend and she was like, hey, this is one of my favorite books of all time. And I was like, girl, say less. I don't need a reason to buy some books. The last sci-fi book I got is Gemina by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is book 2 in the Illuminate files, and when I tell you this book is impossible to find, I've literally been searching for years. I found book 1 years ago. I found book 3 at like an Ollie's bargain sale, and then I have been struggling to find this on Pango Books, on anywhere, like online, used, and in-store used. I am not someone that likes to spend full price on a book unless it's an author I like am fully dedicated to. So when I found this used, when I tell you that I squealed a little, I was so excited. I said, give me that right now. Now I have the completed trilogy and I can actually go through and binge it all. Okay guys, finally getting to my favorite genre, fantasy. I did split these by middle grade, young adult, and just normal adult fantasy. And the first books that I actually got right at the beginning of the year, and that's the first 5 books in the Wings of Fire series. So this is like a super popular middle grade like dragon series. I remember kids growing up reading these, and I know kids still nowadays read them. I know there's also like the graphic novels that are in this world, but yeah, you know, I'm kind of in my buying books I wanted to read as a kid era, and so I got the first 5 in this series, and I'm really excited to finally see what the hype is about. And I know that even as an adult they're still gonna be good, because sometimes it's nice to take a break from a lengthy extreme world and jump into just some like easy fun reads. I also finally found The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. I have heard amazing things about this book, and I just haven't like seen it in stores like anywhere, and conveniently enough Goodwill had it, and I was like, oh my god, that's a book that I've had on my list forever. So again, the common theme is I saw it, I recognized it, heard slightly good things, and I immediately bought it because why not? Just so you guys know, like, I've never denied that I have a book buying problem. Some people would say it's a problem. In my head, I'm saving books from sitting on shelves, and I'm also, you know, spending my money, which isn't always great, but it could be worse. Like, I could be like spending my money on stupid shit or bad things, but you know, I'm just buying books and being a total nerd, so I think it's okay. I only got 2 like young adult books. I guess like 1 or 2 of my adult fantasy books could be considered young adult. I just kind of categorize them how I want. But the first one I got is Akata Witch by Nnedi Okorafor. I've recently, you guys can watch, I think, my library video I uploaded more recently. I have recently discovered her and I'm absolutely obsessed. Okay, favorite author, one of at least. I just am flabbergasted with how amazing her writing is. I've been checking out a lot of her library books, but my library, conveniently enough, only has book 3 in this series and not book 1 and 2. So I found book 1, and I don't need an excuse to own this woman's books. Like, she's just amazing. I also finally picked up Gallant by V.E. Schwab. I heard really mixed things about this book, and I know this is more like young adult, middle grade type fantasy. I've heard amazing things about V.E. Schwab herself and her writing. I just have not read one of her books, and I remember when this book came out, I was like, oh my god, the cover is beautiful. I finally picked it up. We'll see if it's good. I heard kind of things about it, but again, I really, just tell me to buy it and I will. I'm such a sucker for books. Getting into some adult fantasy books, I have a couple mass markets because I do like this entire shelf, and these bottom 3 are all mass markets. I love them. I know a lot of people don't like them, but they take up less room and they're just so fun and cute to hold. You can slip them in your purse really easy, so I tend to be a sucker for them. and I was at my little thrift store and I found, I don't know what books in the series these are off the top of my head, but I know they were ones I didn't own, but these are 3 books in the Malazan Book of the Fallen series by Steven Erikson. Heard amazing things about, need to eventually start. These are chonkers, but again, I actually think my thrift store the day I got these, normally their books are like 50 cents, but they were doing buy 2 get 2 free, so I literally spent like 50 cents for all of these and one other book. It was crazy. I think they just needed to do a clear out, but was super excited when I saw these. I also one day was at the bookstore, obviously, where else am I ever, and I bought book 2 and 3 in a series that I thought I had book 1 to, but I actually had book 1 in another series by Russell Kirkpatrick. So I did finally find book 1 to the one that I had accidentally bought, and yeah, I feel complete now. Along those same lines, I used to have a bad habit of buying a lot of a series before I'd even tried it out or started it, and one book that I was missing was book 4 in the Earthborn series by Orson Scott Card. I think he wrote Ender's Game, but this is another like sci-fi fantasy series he has, and I was just simply missing this book and I happened to come across it. A fantasy writer I've really been wanting to read is Mark Lawrence. I know he's actually coming out with a new book that I just added on my Goodreads that sounds really, really good. I don't think it's published just yet, but I have wanted to read his Prince of Thorns. This is book 1 in the Broken Empire series. I actually found it and was very excited. I mean, it's the same story with all these books. I either didn't know anything about it, saw it and got excited, or it was one I was searching for, and yeah, this was one of them that I happened to be looking for and I found. So now I am still a Book of the Month member, and I think I actually skipped the February box, but for January I picked up Rings of Fate by Melissa De La Cruz. I haven't actually heard anyone talk about this, but it had really pretty sprayed edges. It's a fantasy. I typically buy any of the fantasy or horrors that pop up on Book of the Month. I tend to not like some of their picks more recently, but this was one that did sound kind of good. Now this one is a Book of the Month edition, but I did not get it on Book of the Month. If you guys want, you can go watch my episode 2 TBR challenge video, and in that I read book 1 to the Crimson Moth series, Heartless Hunter, and immediately was like, wow, I need to go try to find book 2, and I did. Rebel Witch. Find it. I'm very excited to get to it. I just have not picked it up yet, but I am excited to read book 2. Again with the thrift store finds, Nora Roberts Year 1. This is book 1 in the Chronicles of the One series. I have heard really good things about Nora Roberts. I know she writes a lot of romance, but also like fantasy, and I'm obviously a fantasy girl, so now I don't really watch a lot of TV. I feel like I tend to like rewatch the same fantasy sci-fi shows because I'm just so disappointed with TV shows nowadays. But I did start The Magicians, and okay, I liked season 1, season 2 was season 3 was okay, and now I'm just bored with it and I don't think I want to continue it. But I found out it's based off a book series, so I got book 1, The Magicians by Lev Grossman, and I'm hoping that the books are better because I did really like how it all started. It just got really whack, and I think that that wacky goofiness would be better in book form than it was in TV form, so I did snag book 1. I also picked up The Light of All That Falls by James Islington. This is book 3 in the Lycanis trilogy. I own book 1, looking for book 2 still, but when I saw this in like mint condition used, I just like had to get it. 2 books that I found by the same author, this is Elizabeth Lim, was Spin the Dawn and 6 Crimson Cranes. I've seen these and I remember when they both came out, but I don't remember hearing much about them. But I really want to get into like fantasy set in different countries, or you know, different cultural fantasies, and I think these are both like Asian inspired, so I am excited to read them. And reading the synopses, I was like, okay, these sound pretty good. One of them kind of sounds like a Mulan type retelling, and the other one just sounds very unique, so I am excited to read these ones eventually. If you guys are big, like epic, huge scale fantasy readers, you've probably heard of the Discworld series by Terry Pratchett. I found Mort and this is book, I don't know, I think it's like book 1 in the Death series, but within like the whole Discworld it's like book 4 or something like that. I just knew that I didn't own this one, and I knew that there's a lot of different ways to read the Discworld series. You can start with The Color of Magic. You can start with the Death series. There's tons of different ways. Everyone will probably tell you a different way to start the series. So I figured, you know, I'll grab it, because if I start with one way, it will be, you know, later in the series. But if I start with this series, then this is book 1. So was excited to find this. I also grabbed the Book of Doors at the same used bookstore. This I've seen the cover of. Did I know what it was about? No, but I grabbed it anyway and came home, read the synopsis, and was like, wow, sounds really cool. It's kind of like a magical book that can take you anywhere kind of vibe, and I love that. I love that in fantasy. I think I own 1 or 2 other books that have similar premise, but like, I just think it sounds so fun, so obviously grab. Now, one that I literally like, I got so excited about last week when I was at the bookstore was The Book Eaters by Sunyi Dean. I have freaking wanted this book for so long. It's basically like they eat stories, and as they eat the books they like digest the story. So like women are reading like a lot of classic housewife books and eating them, and I just think it's so freaking interesting, okay? And I've wanted it for a really long time, so I was really excited. So I have 3 more books. 2 of them are the only books that I bought full priced at actual bookstores or Amazon, but these 3 are probably the 3 I'm like the most excited about, I think. And the first one is Green Teeth by Molly O'Neill. I got this one used, but if you guys have watched any of my like 2025 wrap-up videos, this was my favorite book I read last year, okay? I loved this book so much. I actually checked it out from my library, and so didn't physically own it, but I was at the bookstore, and then 2 days later, I went back and they had like 5 copies of this used, and I was literally squealing. My mom was actually with me, and she was like, are you gonna put that in the cart or walk around holding it like a weirdo? And I was like, I'm holding this, I'm not letting it go. I was very excited to find this book. Now, also with Molly O'Neill, she was coming out with a new book this year. I couldn't remember when it was being published, but I was walking around Barnes & Noble by myself one day trying to kill time, and I freaking found her new release book. I did not realize it came out in early February, and this was the only copy they had, and I was like, you know what, for this girl, I'm willing to buy full price. And that's Nightshade and Oak. It really sounds like it's the goddess of death, and she somehow gets turned human and kind of has to deal with that. And she just writes a really good cozy fantasy, which I really did not think was going to be my vibe. But when I tell you that Green Teeth shook me and was the best thing I read last year, I'm so serious. Like, I still think about it. I think Jenny Green Teeth is one of my favorite characters ever. So I'm very excited to read her new book, and it's taking everything in me to not immediately read this, but I feel like I need to read some of the other books that have been on my shelves a little bit first. The last book I have for this huge book haul is Who Fears Death by Nnedi Okorafor. Like I said, this queen right here has quickly become one of my favorite authors ever. I've read 5 or 6 of her books so far this year, and I am obsessed. This one my library does not have, and I actually had checked out one book realizing that it's like a follow-up series to this book, so I went ahead on Amazon, got this book delivered, and I'm very excited to read it because, again, if you guys want like N.K. Jemisin vibe, like sci-fi, I feel like you need to read her. And it's just so like mind-blowingly stunning. I can't even express to you how beautiful the writing is and the messages in her stories. So man, it's also same thing with this book. It's like taking everything in me to not read these brand new books before I read some other books that I have on my TBR. Well guys, that is all I have for you today. I feel like I really speed ran that book haul, but I currently am sitting in this predicament. I have so many books, so I felt like I needed to very quickly wrap this up. The sun is also coming through my window so strong that it's like messing with the lighting on my camera, and I'm just trying to do this in one take because I'm lazy and I'm tired. I've been cleaning all day and I just want to start one of these beautiful books, okay? Anyway, like I always do, I am rambling, but if you guys have read any of these books, please let me know your thoughts. Again, these are all new to me, minus Green Teeth, so I really, you know, need a reason to read one of them because I own a lot of books. Sometimes it's hard for me to make a decision, so really convince me. And if you guys didn't like any of these books, I also love to hear differing opinions. Let me know why you didn't like it, or, you know, if I should even try reading it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will hopefully see you guys soon with another video.